Joey. With your little toque.
Is that what this is?
Oh, it's Canadian for hat.
Oh.
I think it actually is a toque. I think that's kind of the term for it. You know, the billless hat. It looks good. I like that hat.
Thanks. Is that it?
That's it. You can go now too. You can go now too. I'll welcome you too here also. I'm glad that you're here. Contrary to popular, this is not my 17th class. This is my first. I'm just happy to be here. So, what piece is yours? Let's see here. It's Shmir.
Yes.
It's Shmir. Yeah, I was looking through this one too. You got a lot of notes. Just right off the bat, you want to bring up the performance notes. I love performance notes.
I will say I don't. As I was writing them, I got more and more. I guess the performance notes. I know this is not like the most interesting thing to talk about, but a lot of performance notes, or at least the general language for performance notes is very dry, and as if you're not talking to anyone.
Joey's had personality.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It begins with a Beckett quote, like, you know, or passage.
Well, yeah, so, I mean, I just realized as I was writing them, and I've written, I think most of the performance notes I've written have been that sort of dry, like, anonymous kind of thing. But with this, I realized there's a lot of information that I wanted to convey to you, and that I knew would be covered in rehearsal, but it's just like, well, and I've even thought about like just sending an email with a bunch of thoughts that I had, but I was just like, well, it belongs with the piece, so just put it in the performance notes. And I don't know, I don't really, we tend to, I don't know, I feel like a lot of composers produce scores with the ridiculous imagined situation that all these anonymous people in the future are going to be reading our scores, and we'll be in books and everything. But yeah, I just sort of thought like, this is a space for me to talk to the performers, so why not talk to the performers?
Yeah, that is an interesting. I agree with that wholeheartedly. That I have a very difficult. I don't know if this is true for you too. I have a very difficult time reading performance notes, like, you know, or composer, I don't, whatever, however you look at it, which is unfortunate because so much of the music that I do includes performance notes. Like, you know, I kind of look for the symbols, you know, kind of thing, and then I'm like, I'll go back as I get confused, you know.
I love performance notes.
Wow.
I really like them. I like however much or little information people want to give me. I feel like it gives me a little idea of like personality of either the piece or the composer. It gives me information because like some people want to give you nothing and really needed to give you a lot, and then some people give you a lot and didn't need actually to give you that much. And then I feel like there's just like everything in between, right? I think it's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's fun.
Maybe I'm just a little bit sour, because we just did these Richard Barrett pieces, and it was very dense performance notes, and like I did my diligence, you know, I read them like 8 times, and then got to the rehearsal, and he's like, or not, because they were just all improvised, and like literally was like, or don't do it, the things that I wrote. It's like, but wait, if I did.
Well, that was kind of Joey's performance note.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like,
Like,
well, you could play this together.
or you could not.
Or not,
And that's
you know?
like so much of it is like actually like a back and forth. It feels
Yeah.
like we're hearing just like you do that exact thing that you would have done like be in front of us.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you could do that, but like I don't know if I really want to.
You could like try to
Like,
do
you
this,
just
but
try
like
to do,
not
like-
too much.
Like what if it
but-
was just like you were trying,
Well,
kind of failing.
what?
Like
Yeah, there's a specific one. So in talking about it's in several movements. But the sentence that I wrote, or the couple sentences that I wrote about like how to think of the movements, because they're not really movements. The term movement should be understood loosely, as there is at most brief pauses between movements. The flow of ideas spill out into each other, into each following movement, or vice versa. Yet each movement is often an interruption of the one previous, or vice versa. And so I'm really giving the option. I mean, the thing that I'm most interested in writing music for people is like to let them make the piece their own and live inside it themselves. And so a lot of that was like, I had an idea of like what I want, but I hope you guys will feel like, well, this is how I'm responding to this. So it could be the opposite, you know.
Well, and that makes all the difference, having the or not right in the right in the thing gives you that that liberty. So so talk about the piece itself a little bit. So Shmir, I've actually been going down a rabbit hole of mythical worms or existential worms in poetry. I'm not even gonna elaborate on that. I've just been thinking about existential worms a lot. Do worms have existential thoughts?
This one does, I think.
Okay, go ahead.
So the way that I write music a lot of the time is I'll have ideas and maybe they coalesce into a thing, but then there's something that I see in the smaller ideas that connects them all together. And what kind of, as I was generating material for this piece, I wanted to have this sort of these separate movements that aren't movements, or maybe they are, where these ideas are like, as I said about the way they flow together or they don't flow together, is reminded me of Samuel Beckett's. He wrote these little prose pieces called fizzles, and each movement has a little quote from different parts of fizzle. So it's like, I believe it's 8 fizzles is the collection, and they sort of like have ideas that spill into each other and everything. But there was this one quote about adamantine blackness. It was a phrase that just like stood out to me, and I ended up going down a rabbit hole or wormhole about the sort of history of the word adamant or adamantine, and it's and I stumbled upon this thing. It was came from one thing is that it came from the Hebrew word Shmir, which what I've read about it, it's either a substance or a worm that can cut through anything. And I don't really know the full like history of that word, but then the way like, and then Shmir is like something that like somehow came after Shamir. So, and Shmir is literally means to spread or aggregate, but then it's also cream cheese on a bagel. And so
the existential worm.
Yeah. So and that's kind of, I mean, the opening of the program notes is sort of like distillation of my thought process of just like finding these things and then sort of like freely exploring, like delving into things in a bizarre way.
Well, I'm looking at page 6 of the score. All right. I mean, we can go through a little bit more, but it does look both schmearing and cutting at the same time. I had to say, you know, these kind of like massive like dynamic shifts. You know, kind of wide range of notes and everything. Like how maybe this opens up to the table. How does that, what you just described, how does that kind of translate to the score?
I feel that you know, I'm not. Nothing was super like I'm gonna do a smearing thing.
Yeah,
You're
not that on the nose
Yeah.
of a composer.
I mean, the way I write music is that there are multiple layers going on, sort of narratively abstract stuff that, and this section is more about Telemon. This
I didn't catch that in the notes. Sorry.
so this movement I've notated in two different ways, one with bar lines and one without bar lines. We can talk about that maybe in rehearsal, but so a while ago we were good friends with duo Gelland from Sweden, and they played a concert years ago, and they, among like performing our music, they also played a little Telemon, and they played Telemon in such a bizarre, wonderful way.
Yeah.
They had all of like completely loose rhythm and tempo, and it was amazing. And so I wrote something actually really rhythmic, but I didn't want them to necessarily play it that way. And so I wanted to have this, I wanted to give them freedom to push and pull as they feel, and they don't even need to line up necessarily in any specific kind of way. So it's completely counterintuitive to the kind of music that I put on the page, because it's like chords, and they're, I mean, the way I renotated it just for clarity, or if it would be helpful in rehearsal, when I notated it with bar lines, it's very clear.
Right.
Like it's in specific meters and whatnot.
But it lends itself to being in those meters too. When you like if you're like reading it down, even without the bar lines, sometimes there are imagined bar lines, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like you can tell like where things are grouped. Like there are parts that are like, oh, that's just 5/8. Like there's like, even though there's no bar line for ever.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, but like you can see that this, but with not having them, I think like helps us not like open it up a little bit.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, you mentioned earlier that this was the most notes you've seen in a long time. This is the most notes I've written in a long time.
A lot of notes.
Anyone familiar with my music, I've written a lot of music.
Usually it looks like that.
Yeah,
A little bit more. Usually look, what page is that? 12. 4A.
That was maybe the shock. I think we're like, Joey doesn't write notes. And I'm like, Joey wrote notes!
Yeah.
Just like,
What
20
happened?
second notes constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And maybe just scroll through like the couple pages past there, because then it just changes.
There's a lot of notes.
So
Yeah.
all your fizzles are like the very last
Smallest
line
one.
on a like your driver's like eye exam.
Like fizzle.
0.2.
Fizzle. I think we gotta move on.
Oh, yeah.
To the next composer. But I'm probably gonna miss your piece. No, I'm kidding. I look forward to your piece. I'm not looking forward to it. No, I'm very much looking forward to it. I look forward to a Joey Bonanza any day of the week.
Anytime.
Which now you know that's what I call performances of your works.
That's the name of the festival.
Yeah.
We have Joey Fest coming this year.
Joy Bonanza.
Joey Bonanza.
But banana, like banana though. Bonanza.
Bonanza. Yeah.
Get that Dole sponsorship.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure they dole those out.
Fun. We acknowledge your fun.
Thank you.
That was good. That was good.